So, do you want me to talk about what I experienced on Friday?
Sure.
Okay. A friend of mine, they had a spirit in their house, and it was, it connected with three people in the house. It lightly pushed one, it a little bit more aggressively pushed another, and then the third person, it just kind of rubbed their shoulder. And they thought it might be a relative. And so I went over there to try and connect with it. And they also thought there might be more than one. So when I went over there, I could immediately, as soon as I went in the kitchen, I could feel an energy there. And when I went down to the basement, in the same area of the kitchen. So, like right below where I felt it in the kitchen, I felt it down in the basement. And so I was trying to communicate with it and trying to figure out who it was. And with the help of somebody that lived in the house, we figured out that it was one of their relatives. But there was a second spirit in there. And the second one, so I'm not going to use the actual names of like these spirits. So like we'll just say like John and Bob, okay? John came to me and like I was able to coax him over and to talk to me, but Bob was staying in the background and wouldn't come anywhere near. The only thing that I could pick up from Bob was that it was a male energy and that it was probably early 30s, but I couldn't get anything more because it's kind of like when somebody is off at a distance and you can't see them clearly. It was like that, but I could, but you kind of hear them and you know that they're there. And so, um, what did I what did I say their names were? John and Bob? Okay. So I was communicating with John, and then I was shown a picture of who they thought it might be. And when I saw that picture and then I started using that person's name, and then so John started communicating with me, but Bob wouldn't. And John had taken his own life. And when someone a lot I don't know for sure, but in my experience, when somebody takes their own life, they don't go into the light because they don't think they're worthy and they are so afraid. They're already judging themselves. First of all, they're like, I think they're kind of confused as to where they are and what's happening. But that when they I think when they first see the light, I think they're afraid of what is on the other side because there's so much that we're taught that there's judgment on the other side. And I heard those words. I kept hearing judgment, judgment, judgment. And so I had to have a conversation with him. And I told him there's no judgment. There's absolutely no judgment on the other side. That there is just, he's going to have to reflect on everything that happened in this lifetime. But there was nobody there waiting to judge him. They were waiting to welcome him home, and that his family was there. His when a spirit is earthbound, their energy is so dense. And I explained it to somebody in this way. If you can imagine all of the worst low vibrational energies, so fear, depression, um, like um beating yourself up, like everything, all of those like things that make you feel really bad. And then think about like they're all combined. It's like the worst. It's like the when you went for me, when I connect with a spirit that's earthbound, I feel hopeless. I feel like there's no hope left in the world. It is, and usually I'll start crying because their energy is just, it's so emotional. And so I was trying to get him to at least, like, I was trying to show him where the light was. I was trying to talk to him about it. I was trying to explain to him that he was not going to be judged, but he was judging himself. He was judging himself so harshly that it's almost like he wasn't hearing me. So a couple times my dad has come through from spirit side and has helped me to cross a soul over. So I called in my dad because I I felt like I couldn't reach him. I felt like I couldn't get through to him. And then what did I say the other
Bob,
one that's huh?
Bob, Bob,
Bob.
Bob.
Bob is still staying back there and Bob's not coming anywhere near. So I'm talking to him and so then I call my dad in and my dad comes in and my dad takes him and it's almost like if you were like walking out towards like a water's edge where you were sitting like along the water or something like that and then the light is like just beyond that. And my dad sat down with him. My dad was a storyteller, but my dad was also a huge advocate of talking to young men and helping them understand the things of life and to helping them understand like choices and things like that. And so I'm watching and I can tell that my dad is first, like, I can't, they're too far off. I can't really hear everything that's being said, but at the same time, I kind of know what's being said. And he's telling him a story. And then he's talking to him about kind of the same thing I was telling him that there's no judgment and it's okay. It's okay, but this is not where he's supposed to be. He can't be here. And so eventually and I was getting impatient. I was actually getting impatient because I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing as I'm watching this, right? I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. And I was like communicating with my dad and I'm like, I'm thinking I'm talking to myself and I'm like, is he going to go? Is he going to go? And my dad is like, you need to be patient. You need to be patient. He goes, go do whatever you need to do. He goes, I'll take care of this. And so I was still trying to communicate to the other spirit, could not get him to communicate at all. We think that this spirit was from one of the people that lived in the house has a friend, and that friend lives in a house that used to be a funeral home, and they have a bunch of spirits in there. And they said one of the spirits left the house, and they thought it went to somebody else's house. And I'm pretty sure that's who it was. So I basically, because he wouldn't communicate with me and because I could not get anywhere with him, I sent him away and basically just told him he didn't have permission to be there. So I went around and I smudged the house, I cleared the house, and then I told him that and I told him I said, you know, it's kind of like you can't be here. You're not supposed to be here, but if you're not going to let me help you, you just can't be in this house. You have to go someplace else, right? And so he left. And then I got a message later on that my dad had crossed this spirit over. So it was, but, and I think one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is because there's so much fear. So many people are afraid of dying, not because of like the act or the process of dying. It's because they don't know what waits for them afterwards. And a lot of them have been taught to fear, like if you're not perfect, if you're not good, um, that there's something bad that is going to be waiting for them on the other side. Or if they just don't feel like they lived up to their own expectations, or if they feel like they failed the people in their lives, um, that keeps them from crossing over. And my understanding is that there's a very short window where they can go into the light, and if they miss that, that it's almost impossible for them to ever find the light again on their own.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's why every time I come across an earthbound spirit, I try as hard as I can to cross them over, because a lot of them have just been, it's very dark. It's very dark, and it's depressing, and it's heavy, and they're living, they're existing in this energy, having no idea the what's the beautiful light and love that's waiting for them if they just would go into it. So yeah, so I try to get them over the best that I can. And one of the times that I was trying to cross a soul over, my dad just kind of came in and he helped me. And so now, if I have a really difficult one, I will call him in. And so he's helped me cross like three souls over. So I, this is the part that I really love. When my dad passed away, and I was only 34. So I lost my dad young, and I lost him unexpectedly. And I immediately, at that time, I wasn't I wasn't able to communicate with him. So I found somebody to communicate with him. And the thing that he said to me was, I can help you so much more from here than I ever could there. And I never understood that. And now all these years later, I'm like, I'm understanding that. I'm getting that now. And he's right, like, and the fact that now he's helping me do this. But
So,
so
something you said was really interesting. I wanted to bring this up and see what everyone else thought of that fear of the light. Do we notice this with people who are alive? Like maybe seeing a situation and not being afraid to see the positive, but maybe it's not just that obvious, like that fear of the light, because like when you change your vibration, you evolve and you elevate, but you also have to lose parts of yourself too, like the way a snake sheds its skin. And I feel like that fear of the light is like some of us may be afraid of our own elevation or evolution. Does that make sense? Like when you're on the spiritual path, you're constantly growing, you're constantly doing the inner work. And it's easy to look at the bad things, but sometimes we're afraid to see what's good about ourselves. And like you said, there's no judgment. Like I feel like some people judge themselves. Like you can't do that. Like you can't judge yourself and you can't judge your thoughts. And I feel that maybe prevents people from looking within sometimes, because you have to like look within for your own growth without judgment. Lynn, I don't know if there's any kind of crystals that go with this one, but
I mean, along this thought line, I think this is something that society does to us. They say, you know, prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. And like, if you have this habit of being prepared for the worst and focusing on the worst and all that kind of stuff, hope is different than truly reflecting on what the best might be. And I think people get caught up in that kind of mindset, and then to your points, it's they feel like they don't deserve the better version, the fluffier version, and you know
right, because the universe is just so abundant, and like there really is abundance all around us. It's just our own limitations that create it. And just being afraid to feel that they deserve better. I feel it's something that a lot of people struggle with and why they might get set in their patterns.
If I can go out on a limb here and try and tie this together into what we've been experiencing lately, and I know we'll talk about Neptune and Aries and so forth, this idea of people's, people getting the wake up call from their dreams and from their illusions, and this
Yes.
idea of, look, there are, you can choose what you do in life, but every choice you make or don't make has a consequence, and over time those consequences build up, and it gets harder and harder to make a difficult choice, to choose a new path, when time and overwhelm and circumstances change, such as to make that more difficult. And I think this is when we're talking about like a soul that's getting trapped here, what we're really saying is, you know, somehow energetically this person refused or turned away from or didn't see or didn't understand all of these options that would have made them feel better and happier and more peaceful, right?
Right.
Their inner peace wasn't so elevated, and after a certain point, like there is a cutoff where it just becomes kind of unreachable. And I'm trying to like pseudoscience this out in my head, and I'm thinking, well, of course it makes sense when you have someone who is very spiritual and tuned into spirit, they're carrying a higher vibration, and then you have this spirit that is caught in a lower vibration. It's that combination, right? Or a combination from a spirit that's already crossed over, that combination of energy that's allowing, things to kind of mix to lift that lost spirit up towards a higher energy frequency. So, maybe we can say, you know, things like self-care, things like making positive choices for ourselves. It really matters in the long run. And it may not feel like it matters today if I don't choose myself, or next week if I don't choose myself, or 6 months from now if I'm not choosing myself. But at some point that compounds, beyond the point that even people who are healers and who are going out there and saying, hey, let me find you guys and round you up, at some point it becomes even inaccessible, to someone with a
Yeah,
really high vibration.
yeah, I feel like with all the Aries energy coming, we're gonna get a renewed sense of self-worth, like I deserve it and I'm going to get it with the Neptune and
Yeah.
the Saturn going into Aries. Because Pisces sometimes, Saturn's in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces. So what does that mean? Well, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac and it's a sign of endings. And some Pisces just don't feel they're worth it. Whereas an Aries knows that they're worth it and they deserve it and they could get it. And we're getting a lot of Aries energy coming in. So, like, I don't know how that's going to reflect in the spirit realm, but maybe if people, of the living are going to have this energy, and then there's people who can communicate with spirits who haven't crossed over, there may be a rise in being able to have them cross the bridge, people that are in tune, because there's going to be a lot of cardinal fire energy. So that means, what is cardinal? Cardinal is something that is basically like an initiator, a leader. So there will be energy coming in for more people like Jaime who could say, all right, well, you can't stay here if you're not going to go, but maybe there'll be more people that could help them go in the next coming months. Just
That
a
would be
thought.
nice. That
Yeah.
that would really be nice. I do know that one of the things that you were talking about, like self-care and stuff like that, that's what's been coming through on sessions that I've been doing, is an emphasis on taking care of ourselves, right? Of like, this is not selfish. This is, we have to take care of ourselves, right? And that's mind, body, spirit, right? That's everything. And um, we, w what came through was we need to take care of ourselves so that we can be the best version of ourselves for the people that are in our lives, right? And the people, that we love. So when you're constantly putting everyone before yourself, when you're constantly putting everybody's needs first, then kind of what they showed me is your cup ends up being empty all the time, right? Because it's not
You're
really
overpouring.
what's that?
Sorry to cut you off, but it's like the idea of that, like you're overpouring.
Right. And so
Yeah.
you have to take care of yourself so that you're the one. You're never going to get your cup filled from external sources. It's always going to come from within. It's always going to come from the self-care and the things that you are doing for yourself. That's where you're, because if you're looking to outside sources to fill up that cup, it's never going to get filled. It's never going to get filled because it has to come from you. And so how are we the best versions of ourselves is when we take care of our needs. And it's hard sometimes to get that message through. We are just as important as everybody else. Our needs are just as important as your loved ones' needs, right? So we have to take care of ourselves, and that makes us a better and stronger to take care of the people we love.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
feel like with all the Aries energy coming, it's a lot of people are going to be saying, "Hey, I have to look out for me first, then maybe I could help someone else out." Instead of overextending yourself. Because it's like some people maybe help people because they need to feel needed, and that's actually going backwards with self development. So, really doing the inner work and working on yourself and taking care of yourself. And then, when your body's strong, you can lift someone else up, but you can't do it from the bottom.
Lynette,
I
what
had
are
a
your thoughts?
I had a question actually. So, in your experience, I know that religion, usually, mostly Christianity, tells people that they're going to go to hell if they commit suicide. So, I wanted to ask you, in your experience of, in your mediumship and connecting with souls who have, you know, crossed over or, have passed out of the physical, right? And uh into the astral and into that other realm, what do you find? Like what's true?
I will just speak to what I've connected with and my own experience, because I know that there's different opinions out there, um, that might not agree with what I'm about to say. My understanding is that when you take your own life, that you the so when you leave this world and then when you go into the light and then you do a life review. So that life review is rough for somebody that's taken their own life. It is really, really rough because they have to watch, the aftermath, what was left behind. Okay. The other thing that I understand is that they have to repeat everything. That it's like you have to go do a do-over. So it doesn't matter what you've done up to that point. It's like it like gets wiped out with it. I don't know. I haven't connected with anybody that on in the spirit world that can verify that. But I need to ask that. It's not that often. Most of the time when I connect with somebody that took their own life, they're still here. They're I mean they're earthbound. I haven't yet, I don't think, connected with somebody that has taken their own life and gone into the spirit world, and then I've been able to talk to them about it. But um, as soon as I have that situation, I am absolutely going to ask them because I really want to know. I want to know what is true and what is not. So,
It makes
I've
me
heard them
wonder.
before.
It makes me wonder though if when a person takes their own life and they go into that
life review.
well, not when they go, but like when you're encountering them, they haven't gone to the light yet, right?
Right.
So where are they at? Right? They're in like an in between,
In
right?
between. I call it the in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what the church is considering hell. Like, I don't know.
I
It's
think that's
just,
what they called purgatory. I
oh,
I'm not well versed with religion by any means, but I feel like that's what they always called, like purgatory was like this in between of like nothingness.
hmm,
But it's, yeah, it's an in between. All I know is it's very dark, it's very dense, and the energy there is like the heaviest and worst energy next to an entity.
wow.
Like I would say an like an entity is a little bit worse, right? But the earthbound, they're pretty bad, and they're either really emotional or really angry. I encountered one who was so angry, and he was actually angry at God. And
Hmm,
like, how do you this was very, very something that happened a long time ago. I think his family, he had a wife and two kids, and it was like smallpox or something that they all died from. And he was left behind, and he was so angry at God, and he was telling me, he said, I did everything I was supposed to do. I lived my life like I was supposed to. I followed all the rules. And then, like, why would God do this to me? And I was able to get him to go into the light because his family was there. But I had to listen. Like, sometimes they want to talk about whatever they're experiencing, and this is where I think this last soul was with my dad. Like, sometimes they need to be heard, or um they're just experiencing really, really intense emotions, and what they don't realize is a lot of why they're experiencing those is because they're in this in between where the energy is, you can't feel anything good. At least I don't think so when you're in this energy. So it's no wonder they feel, I think it amplifies whatever bad feelings they're feeling. I feel like the energy in this in between amplifies it.
Interesting. So when you encounter other souls that haven't gone to the light yet, how are they different? Like if they did not commit suicide, like what is their energy like versus somebody who committed suicide?
It's still heavy. It's still heavy. Um, I don't know how this particular soul passed away, but my friend's sister has a spirit in her house. And when I connected with her, I immediately started crying. I thought I was going to throw up. Like, it was horrible. I couldn't even get from her how she left this world because the energy was so bad. And so I haven't noticed, like, I think with the ones that have taken their own lives, they are more self-judging and more down on themselves, critical of themselves, right? Where the ones that it didn't happen that way and they just didn't cross over are more angry and confused, right? Like you remember, um, I won't say the person's name, but a friend of yours that was trying to sell her house and she couldn't because there were, we thought one, but there was two spirits in the house. And remember, it
Yep.
was every time they tried to show the house, there was leaking pipes. There was the door was locked from the inside. They had a locksmith come out and said, I have never seen anything like this before. And he had to change the entire lock. And then remember, you were at the house, and when I connected to him, he says, I am not dealing with this anymore. I'm not letting another family in this house. I'm not dealing with it because he was attached to the house. And so
Hmm.
he was very confused. He did not take his own life. Him and his daughter died in some type of accident. I'm not even exactly sure what it was, but he was angry and he was confused. Um, so it's still those low vibrational energies, but I really feel like the ones that have taken their own life, they're really down on themselves and beating themselves up. They ashamed, like ashamed of themselves is
Hmm.
more.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I have to say that I'm glad that you're able to connect with them and able to cross them over, because otherwise they would be trapped there forever. You
Like
know,
you did,
it,
like your dad,
yep.
like your dad.
Did you cross my dad over?
Yes,
You did. Okay.
yes.
Yeah. And so thankful, right? So thankful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, because um that was, and honestly, I'm not even sure. I'm not, your dad really came from a place of ego. And I really felt like that was playing a part of why, like he wasn't accepting what happened to him. And I feel like that was part of why he didn't go. That's just like the feeling that I got, but he never communicated that to me.
Yeah.
So I have heard of that do-over before. There are a couple cultures that do believe that. I know I believe like a certain sect of yogis, that's what they teach, that if you take your life, you kind of have to start over. So I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. It's kind of not my forte, but yeah, I've heard of that before.
It's interesting. Like, is it like an automatic thing, or I mean, we have free will. So is it something that once we get to the other side, we do the life review, we're like, okay, let me go ahead and do it again. I mean, it has to be that way because we do have free
Oh,
will.
yeah, yeah. But it just means that, and again, this is just my understanding. So um every every lesson, every experience, every healing helps to evolve our souls to bring us closer to source, right? To bring us back to our origins. And my understanding is it's kind of like climbing, like you climbed a whole bunch of steps and then you take your own life and you're back down to where you started before you incarnated. And yes, they absolutely have the choice. Nobody has to incarnate. We all make that choice to do it. We we choose everything. We've all been male, we've all been female. Um we choose everything. We choose every single thing about how we're going to look and the things that we're going to struggle with, um, the things that we want to accomplish and what we want to experience. Like we plan all of that out. And my I do not believe that anybody accomplishes 100% of what they came here for unless they came here for a very short period and something specific. But if I, my belief is if you live a full lifetime, and so we're saying like at least until like 70s, 80s, we have free will. There's no way that I just don't believe that anybody is going to accomplish everything that they set out before they incarnated. I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong, but I think that we are, and I think that there's, especially with younger souls, they're overzealous, right? They're like, I got this,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't understand what the energy and the things that they're going to come up against in this world, right?
Yep.
So before they incarnate, they're like, yeah, I got this. I got this. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And they get here and they go, man, this is
Yeah,
painful.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Man, this is difficult. And even if it's just little things, right? We all have these little things where we're like, I don't want to, maybe I don't want to heal that. Maybe I don't want
Mhm.
to, I don't want to bring that back up. I don't want to deal with that anymore. I just want to move on, right? Right there. That's something that we made a choice consciously to like not heal, to not deal with. So,
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the work that I do, doing, past life regressions and taking people into past lives, and it's it's interesting that my clients often have earthbound spirits that have not crossed over attached to them because they're basically wanting the energy. They want to feel like they did when they were in a body, and so they literally will attach to a physical being. And so my clients a lot of times will have these earthbound spirits attached to them, sometimes darker energies, like, crazy, crazy energies. Um, and so I end up crossing them over. I mean, that's what I do when I'm doing a past life regression is I'm speaking directly to these earthbound spirits that are connected to my clients and crossing them over. So you're doing that, I'm doing that, we just do it in a different way, right? I do it with my clients under hypnosis and speaking directly to the spirits, but I'm speaking to the spirits through my client because I'm not speaking to them directly. I mean, I'm speaking them to my client is kind of like channeling them, right? And then I'm allowed to, basically talk to them and let them know that they are not allowed to be attached to my client and they must leave. And I call in Archangel Michael and have Archangel Michael take them to the light. Or I'll open up a light and I'll say, do you see the light? And they'll say yes. I said, and it's there for you. That like it was there for you on the day that you died. And so it's your opportunity now to go to the light and go back and get a new body. you know like you don't want to be stuck here. This is no fun.
Yeah.
Like
And
this is no fun.
they do. They need an energy source.
Yeah.
And so, excuse me, um, that's what they do, and that's how they get attached to people, especially young people, because young people, the younger ones, they still have really, really good energy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're this is where um imaginary friends come from, right? So if you ever had a kid that had an imaginary friend, that was a spirit. That was a spirit that they were playing with. Sometimes it's just a relative that is around, but sometimes I had a friend who moved into a house, and the bedroom that she was in, the teenage boy that lived in that house, he took his life in the bathroom that was connected to that bedroom. And he was with her whole entire life up until like in her 40s. Um, and she was mostly aware of it, but I don't think she realized how low his energy was. I will tell you, when I communicated with him, he thought he was protecting her. It was not in any way. He wasn't trying to be like taking her energy. He was trying, he thought he was protecting her because whatever he went through in his life, he wanted to make sure that she did not go through that. So I really felt bad. I felt really bad for him, that he just didn't understand. He didn't understand. And that's the one thing that I noticed a lot is they're very confused. They're very confused. They don't know where their people are. They don't know why they're in their house and there's people in their house they don't recognize. Um, it's it's very confusing. It's very confusing. They a lot of times are not understanding what happened.
It's funny. When I was living in Wyoming and I was living in an apartment that was downtown, and the downtown area was built in like the 1800s, right? And so they had like the mafia there and like just all kinds of crazy stuff. And the building I was living in used to be a brothel. And I had my first client space was in my apartment because my apartment had a door from that room out into the hallway. So I could have clients come directly into that room from the hallway. Well, the first time that my friend Amanda worked on me in that room, she's like, "Do you know somebody named Craig?" I was like, "No." And she's like, "Well, he's here." And I'm just like, "Okay." And she started talking to Craig. "Hey, Craig." And he's like, "Yeah, I took advantage of a prostitute and didn't pay her, so she stabbed me and killed me." And so he was like, "So I pretty much, decided that I'm just gonna, as repentance, like trying to, do a good deed. He was gonna be, a protector of the building." So that was the role that he had taken on. And I was like, "Well, we can cross you over." He's like, "No, it's okay, I'm good." It was so funny. And then Amanda's sister Kelsey was working on me one time. And by this time, I was like, "Oh, there's spirits here. I need to be blocking these spirits from this space." It was brand new, so I was still learning. So I put black tourmaline in all the corners, above all the doors, and at the bottom of the door frame and the top of the door frame. And I was like, "We're not doing this." And so then the next time when Kelsey was there, she's like, "So what was that ghost name that Amanda said was here?" And I was like, "Craig." She's like, "Yeah, he's on the other side of the door." And he's like, "Hey, can I come in?" And she's like, "No, you can't." It was so funny. So, and it turns out that whole apartment building was just haunted. There were so many spirits. I had a neighbor that ended up moving in across the hall after I had moved out, and I somehow connected with this woman. I don't even know. She had reached out to me because she wanted Reiki, and I was in that area. And so and then after we got talking, we realized that she was living in the apartment across from the apartment that I was in, and she could see spirits. And so she was like, "I put salt all in the hallway." And she said, and I literally went downstairs, opened the door, and just stream of spirits came walking down the stairs and out the door. And so the whole building was just haunted. It was pretty funny. And then another thing is Kelsey, when she was working on me, there was a downstairs unit that was like a esthetician, like a brow bar. And she said, "Yeah, there's a spirit down there, and it's a woman, and she's like a larger woman, and she's literally walking up and down like this apartment screaming her head off, like just screaming." And she's like, "You do not want her up here." I was like, "You are definitely right. I do not want her up here." So it's like, to your point, right? She was miserable, right? Just absolutely miserable. But this other guy, Craig, he was just like, "Yeah, I'm here. I'm protecting the place." it's it's funny. The afterlife is very interesting. Oh, and one of the other ladies in the community, she had told me, she's like, yeah, the spirits, because there was a train station that was right near, like within 2 blocks of the apartment I was in. And she said that the spirits actually continued their routine that they had when they were alive. So they would literally go to the train station, get on the train, take the train, come back, get off the train, and they'd just be in the city, like in the downtown area. And they would just continue their lives like they were still living. It was really, that was the first time I'd ever heard that. So, anyways, just is I don't know how we got talking about all this afterlife, but here we are, the topic of the day.
Yeah.
Lynn, Jeanette, do you have any ghost stories? Any afterlife stories?
I mean, I did just come back from Savannah, which is supposed to be the most haunted city in
Oh.
America, and I was visiting my friend's tarot shop, and she's like, "Oh, go to the building across the street. There's a little boy in the basement." And I was just like apparently like all these bad things were happening to him. I don't want to get into graphic details, but yeah, he's just there chilling. You could just go there, feel him out. You knew he was there, but yeah, I'd like to say that I'd run to the light when I die because I just want to get next. Like, I just want to keep going. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to wait around because I hear that like some souls wait around to like look over their relatives. Like me, nope. When I'm dead, I'm going
Mhm.
right into the next one. I'm getting it
Yep.
over with.
Yep.
I just want to learn what I have to learn until I get to the next level, and that's it. But that's me. I like to do things fast. I'm not like a slow paced kind of person, but everyone's soul does it differently. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, my friend's mom passed, and she was hanging around until his dad passed, and then
Yeah,
they were both gonna go.
I've heard that they do that. Like they watch us, and then when all their relatives are passed on, then they go to the next one. Although I'm pretty sure my grandparents they died like 2006 and 2012. I don't sense them at all. Like you can tell they want to find each other again, grandma and grandpa. So they just went to the next realm. Like if you think of them, look at pictures of them, you could just kind of feel it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I don't know, Lynn.
I mean, from when I was little, I would see ghosts and spirits and entities, and it was terrifying for much of my childhood and definitely my early and mid 20s. And I remember, as I was kind of navigating that and finding people who like got it and understood, the thing that I kept being told was like, well, your intuition is showing you like the true nature of these entities, and other people are just kind of believing what they want to. I was dating someone whose parents had a house that was most definitely haunted, and everyone in the house had seen these different entities, and it creeped me out. I mean, every time I would go there and stay there, I mean, it just felt like I was being watched, and like not in a happy way either. And I remember one night I was staying over, and I had that very intense feeling of being watched, and like it was not great at all. I can feel my heart going do-doom, do-doom as I'm retelling this story. And the door of the bedroom was ajar, and I was in the bed by myself, and the door moved and opened up, and then all of a sudden I felt this weight on me, just right on top of me, on top of my bed, and this voice screaming in my head saying, "Get out now, get out now, get out now." And then I got a name, Jude, who turns out to be somebody who lived in the house, was maybe torturing girls in the basement, those friggin' basements, man. But, so I feel
Oh my
this
God.
weight and I hear this get out, and then it lets up. I swear to God, I grabbed my stuff. I ran outside into my car. I did not go back in that house. I'm like, that's it. We're done. We're done. And this person's mother was just like, "Oh, those are just the people upstairs saying hello." I'm like, nah, that's messed up. Um, that's one of the scary bad stories. I can also say, I've had friends and family members who passed over, who I'd helped crossed over, who have come back to visit. Um, a lot of times when I have like a friend's parent who passes away or something, I'll hear from the friend later, but I'll get some kind of like visit, like when I'm dreaming or I'm first waking up, I'll be like, oh, that was them, just letting me know they're okay. Um, but it's the whole idea of mediumship, and you guys know this is something that I'm trying to like enter into in 2026 in a more meaningful way rather than just kind of being like, oh, hey, someone's joining me today. Um, actually going out of my way and being like, hey, dad, hey, uncle, hey, friends and family, let's do something here. Um, because it does occur to me that, you know, as we are getting older, I mean, we're all of a similar age, right? And some of us have lost parents already. Others of us are just starting that journey of, our friends and family passing over. And of course, once they're over there, if they've got any messages, right? Like, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna be like, well, gee, where are those woo-woo people I knew in life? Let's see what they're doing right now. So I have in my mind, like, if I'm doing the math, there may be like a bunch of people being like, "Hey, Lynn." And so I want to, on a serious note, honor that and be worthy of that and being entrusted with that and like, do the study and research so that I know what I'm doing, so that I can do the right thing by people wherever they're floating around.
Jamie can help you.
I know. I've already hit her up. She said you would help me too.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, no, it's and I want to say how much I appreciate being in this kind of community and having these conversations with all of you. It's just very it's a blessing that we have to be able to talk to each other this way and have these conversations get out in the world this way. I really appreciate it.
I agree. Yeah, normalize this stuff.
I agree too, because when you're on this journey, sometimes it can be very uncertain. You don't always know what you're getting, what's happening, what you're seeing, what you're hearing. It it helps to have people that are going through the same thing, that either have gone through the same thing and have an understanding of it and can help you to understand it, or just to be experiencing the same stuff and just being able to talk about it, right? Because it's like a whole nother world. And but the more that you get connected with it, the bigger part it plays in your life. And so you have to be able to talk to people about it. You have to be able to bounce things off of other people who understand this, or ask questions. And that's one of the things that, like, have when I do events, a lot of times I'll have people come up to me and they'll say, I think I've got gifts, or I think that like I'm able to do this, but I don't know what to do with it. And we have to support each other, right? We have to support each other in really like leaning into our gifts and understanding what they are, and like practicing and healing, practicing with each other, healing with each other. It's so important to have a tribe.
It's actually one of the it was actually an impetus for you and I starting Elevate Your Inner Peace, right? Is because we wanted to basically get out there like we're doing today and create a space for people to feel like they had somewhere to go to talk about this stuff,
To ask questions.
ask questions. Yep. So
if you're listening, come join our tribe.
Right? because there's no dumb questions, and we love helping people to understand wherever they are on their path. Like, we want to help you. We want to help you with that. Between the four of us, I feel like we have a good amount of knowledge and experience, and it's you need that kind of support, and a safe place, right? Like, I needed to have a safe space to practice my gifts and to um, get stronger with them. And so I needed a place where I was not going to be judged, where I didn't feel, because it's a little scary coming into this,
Mhm.
right? Because not only are you trying to figure this out, you're trying to explain what you're going through to the people in your life. And that that can be hard sometimes. And I know that I struggled with um believing in my abilities. Like, I really struggled with that. And but having a community where I could practice and work with other people, that was huge for me. That's what got me further on this path. And
Mhm.
as I went down this path, I just kept thinking, I didn't really have um, anybody to mentor me, anybody that was really supportive of this when I was younger. And I realized the impact that it had now, where I I feel like, had I had that, I would have really connected a lot stronger with my gifts a lot earlier in life. Or at least I would have, it's not that I didn't connect with them, I wouldn't have felt like a weirdo. You know, like, I felt like there was something wrong with me, and I didn't have somebody saying, there's nothing wrong with you. This is a beautiful thing. And I want to give that to somebody else. I want to let them know, you're not weird. There's nothing wrong with you. You're completely normal. You're connecting with the gifts that you've always had. You're just remembering them, and I want us to be that support, because with that encouragement is how you strengthen and really lean into your gifts. So,
And just also, when you're on the spiritual path, sometimes you just need to you'll see something, the universe will talk to you in a certain way, and you just want to ask a friend, like, am I nuts? Am I really seeing this? And it's like there are synchronicities, and yes, you are really seeing them. And astrology is good for that too, because you have good transits and you have bad transits. And sometimes when you have a transit that isn't so great, you're wondering, like, well, why is this happening to me, or when is this going to pass? And that's what's great about astrology. You could pinpoint, like, all right, you're going through this little period in your life right now, this is what it's going to be like. And if you're not too crazy about that idea, that's okay, because this is when it's going to get better, or this is when it's going to shift. It's kind of like a weather map for like cosmic interactions,
Yeah, but
for
some of those
lack of a
transits
better
are
word.
like a year and a half long. It really sucks.
Yeah, yeah, no, it does, but at least you know you're not being punished, and you know how to work with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you know, like, all right, it's going to rain, bring an umbrella and act accordingly. So, and there's always a silver lining. There's something you're getting out of it. And yeah, some people have nasty transits, and you're just like, oh wow, but it's um you'll know when it'll end, and there's usually a light at the end of the tunnel, and that's usually sometimes the best news, knowing that, like, there's that this isn't forever, you're not crazy, and your life isn't falling apart. It's just you're going through a shift right now, and it has a purpose, but that purpose will be revealed in the aftermath. When you're in the storm, sometimes you can't see the sunshine. Astrology isn't all doom and gloom. Like I said, it's really just like a cosmic weather map. Like, what phase of my life am I in? Like, if your career's building up, there's going to be a lot of things going on in your 10th house, which is your chart has 12 houses. We could talk about astrology in depth another day, but yeah, it's just like a weather map. It's just like, so what's the next 6 months weather like gonna be, you know?
Mhm.
Stuff like that.
Well, we should definitely talk about was it Neptune moving into Aries?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Next week we should tackle that.
We definitely will. Like I said, the theme is I'm not selfish. I need to do this for myself. I have to take action on myself. Neptune in Pisces is the dreamer. Neptune in Aries is I have to take action. No one else is doing this for me. And
Mm.
then with Saturn in Aries too, it's you know, they're going to be right next to each other. And Saturn is okay, you know, maybe my karma gets a new start. So it's all about new beginnings, new approaches. And sometimes we, you know, go head on and we don't know what we're doing and we're figuring it out as we go. There's going to be a lot of that going on, and that's okay too. Who the hell wants to know everything? I mean, that would just, you know, you wouldn't be learning anything, and then there just wouldn't be the point of doing it.
So we're
But
building the airplane as we're flying.
basically, I like that. How poetic. All right, guys. Well, I actually have to take off, but I'm gonna see everyone next week, and we will go more into Neptune and Saturn and Aries and how we are not being selfish, how looking out for ourselves and doing things for ourselves makes us grow, and that's basically what we're here to do. We're not here to
Sounds good.
coast.
All right. Well, it sounds like we're gonna wrap up. So thank you, ladies. Our first live. It was an hour late, but hey, we got it done.
Yeah, we know.
Next week, hopefully it'll be a lot smoother.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Have a good night, lady.
Good night.
And everybody that's
Bye.
watching, thank you for tuning in. All
Yeah,
right, bye.
thank you.
Bye.
We'll see you in
Bye.
February.
Bye.